Homicidal clothes cause I'm dressed to kill. Leave 6 bitches oohing cause I'm worth a mil. Flow is ill, spitting no vomit spill. Killing them softly but I ain't Lauren.
I'd be a pro.
What is up, my people? Welcome to another episode of the Townie Sports Podcast on our new, improved Townie Sports broadcast system. I am one of your two hosts, Sammy, alongside, as always, my boy, Vic. Vic, how you doing, bro?
Doing well, man. Now you're big time. You don't even give us a countdown anymore. A-Rod over here talking about where we could have been in the big leagues.
Hey, man, it makes it all better, especially when I can cut to B-roll and there's some B-roll takes. I love it. And, of course, the man behind half of the Fairweather Podcast, and it's a long time coming. We've been pushing it off. We wanted you on the podcast because, yes, you were the Townie Sports Podcast Fantasy Football Champion after all. A-Rod, how you doing, bro? Welcome back, as always. We wish we could have had KK on the show, especially with what happened with Philly recently. So
that blowout. Yeah, he's under a rock. Don't bring that up, man. I texted him oof when that happened because James Harden came out, rang that bell, and they lost by 48, and all I just sent was oof, and I knew I wasn't going to get a text message back. So
that's cold, brother.
It is cold, but it is what it is, man. We love sports. You know, we give each other shit when our teams are really good and when they do really bad. You know, you're going to get that text from your co-host, from your friend or whatever. But, yes, I am A-Rod, half of the Fairweather Podcast. We'd love to have KK on here, but it was, you know, kind of a last-minute thing, and I'm okay with it. I always love coming on here and chopping it up with you guys. It's always the best. We all have great chemistry. Me and Sammy are really good friends. One day I'm going to meet Vic. One day it's going to come. Yeah, exactly. But until then, we'll just crack a beer, talk some sports, see Vic in his little dad hats and his polo T-shirts, and go from there.
This is a track.
It is super clean, though.
This is a track.
It is.
This is a track.
Oh, it's a track. It's a track. That was a polo. I didn't see because the mics in the back I couldn't see.
Respect the fit.
Yeah, man. A-Rod, we really appreciate you coming on, especially because kind of this is our premiere, man. This is our premiere of our new site, our new page. As you can see, we got a nice new layout going, some new digs going on. So we really appreciate you coming out here. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties to try to figure it all out and get you on here, but I'm glad you finally were able to join us, man.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. Anytime for my brothers.
Appreciate it.
And as always, thank you, everybody, for tuning in and stuff like that. Thank you for coming in here. Just remember to like and subscribe. Tell everybody that this is our new home. We are clean and we are ready to go. So with that being said, let's dive right into it. So I'm going to give a little breakdown kind of what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, big news. We got to do the NFL Super Bowl wrap-up show. You know, we're going to have Vic talk through his emotions and how he was feeling during that entire thing because that's, you know, I still consider it your victory lap. Then we're going to get into the NBA trade deadline, man. Like, the deadlines, how they impacted everybody, who won, who lost, all that good stuff. Probably do a nice little Celtics minute with Vic. And then obviously at the end, Vic will do his little Townie takeaway. And then A-Rod, you can chime in if you think whatever he's saying in that takeaway is crazy. But all right, let's get right to it. With the Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, the Rams against the Bengals. The Rams, of course, came through victorious 23-20. Matthew Stafford, 26 for 40, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks. Joe Burrow, 22 for 33, 263 yards, and a touchdown. Joe Mixon had a pretty good game, 15 carries, 72 yards, and then he had a nice little passing TD. And then, you know, A-Rod, I think you called this as well. It's going to be a big T. Higgins game.
I did.
4 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Potential pass interference, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And, of course, last but not least, the Super Bowl MVP, Cooper Kupp, 8 receptions, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. A-Rod, we'll let you get to it in a second. But, Vic, talk us through your emotions. Talk us through how you felt about this game, man. This is all you, baby.
This was the culmination of everything that this season was. There were ups, there were downs, there were highs, there were lows. I mean, so emotionally, Sammy, talking about the game, I went through it. And surprisingly so, I went through it like I was an actual fan, man. When they lost, it hurt. You know what I mean? Like you know when that feeling that you got when the Pats lost to the Eagles that year, when the Pats lost to the Giants, that feeling in the pit of your stomach, like, oh, the ride's over. I got that same feeling when the Bengals called that run on 3rd and 1 with a backup running back. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Beat me to it.
Dude, what a terrible, terrible play call. And of course, Zach Taylor, of course he gets his extension. I get it. I believe our buddy Kurt told us Average Kurt Cooks told us in our little Meme Zone chat that we have with our guys. Shout out to Meme Zone. But he mentioned, of course, he's going to get an extension. He brought them to the Super Bowl, and I think that's a detriment. I think they got there despite the play calling here. Zach Taylor might be a great head coach, but I don't know if he deserves the offensive play calling duties at this point. I mean, that was just a horrendous play call. And let's go look at the stats, because that's what we like to do here on Tiny Sports. We break down the X's, not necessarily the X and O's, but the nerdy stats for you. This is what we do. So we got time of possession. It's almost identical between the two teams. Not worth bringing up. Now the penalty yards is something that I want to highlight here. We have 4 penalties to the Bengals, 2 to the LA Rams, 10 yards for the Rams in penalty yards, and the Bengals gave up 31 penalty yards. Now the reason it's 31 penalty yards, it's a weird number like that, is because they're giving BS pass interference and BS holding calls at the end of the game that I thought were questionable at best. Okay, especially that holding there at the end. I don't know about that. I highly disagree with that. If you look at the quarterbacks, they're pretty much identical in terms of completion percentage: 63% for Stafford, 67% for my guy Joey Big Dick B. Yards per completion against similar. I mean, this is a game that, on paper, was as close as humanly possible, and really ended up in the final seconds of the game here. But a game that people thought that the Rams would end handily. Now, granted, defensively, the Rams didn't come along till the end here. If you look at the pass percentage and all that. The rush percentage. You can see it going up in the later quarters, but third down percentage hugely in favor of the Rams. Red zone percentage also in favor of the Rams. The Rams went 3 for 3 in the red zone here, guys. And whenever it's very rare that you see a team win that has a lesser percentage in the red zone and with equal attempts. So, for example, the Rams here went 3 for 3. The Bengals went 1 for 3 in the red zone. Unfortunately, you have to score points to win the game. The Bengals didn't do that, and that's ultimately why they lost, despite the terrible play calling and the BS calls.
Hey, Rod, of course you and I sat there and watched the game together, but what were your takeaways from that Super Bowl game, and what were your feelings throughout?
Okay, so first off, I just want to say winners win. That's all I want to say. That's been instilled in me from my boy Michael Pless on Real Bucks Talk. He gives me that every time, and that's my mantra all the time, man. Winners win. And people wanted it bad on that LA Rams team. You could see it all in the emotions the entire game. Joey Big Dick B, Shiesty Joe, whatever you want to call him, Joe Shiesty, like, he played a hell of a game. He's a player that Vic has been high on all year, and a team that they've been high on all year, and I and KK have been looking at it and analyzing it and just being like, they're just too young. They have no O-line. We kept writing them off every time, and they got there. So I'm proud of all of the obstacles that Cincinnati had to come with, but they definitely, should have been there. They did. However, I will say this. I feel like they're a very, very lucky team in my eyes. In my eyes, they're very lucky. They won a lot of games very, very luckily. But that's not taken away. You get to the ship, that's that. That's it at the end of the day. They got there. The other teams didn't. Okay. All I can say is, are we not going to forget the very first play of the second half that was a definite pass interference? I'm sorry. Offensive pass interference that got away. I know you want to, jump out the gates and, ride the Joey Dick train and all that shit, but hey, man, I call a spade when I see it, man. I know Ramsey got handled a couple times. We got to see a good matchup between Ramsey and Chase, but that was blatantly pass interference. And on top of that, it came back with that holding in the fourth. So I felt like those two weighed each other out. We got to see that, and that happened. It just so happens it came in favor of the Rams at the right time. What I took away from that game, though, is one thing that you said. Why in a pivotal game, in a game like the Super Bowl, are you going to give it on a third down to Samaje Perine when you have Joe Mixon throwing touchdowns and having a very, very good game? Also, you did this to them before in the second half. They had a play where you needed 1 yard, run with it. You did it against the Chiefs. Just run through and slide. You need 1 yard. Joey should have easily had that, but it was bad play calling. Zach Taylor looks like he doesn't talk on the sideline. Every time he's on the sideline, he's just like,
yeah.
So he wasn't vocal, but the one big takeaway that I have is Aaron Donald is my favorite player, and he is a beast. He made the last 2 pivotal plays at the very end, and I even called that last play, Sammy, didn't I? I said, he's going to get a sack right here. Me and Sean McVay were channeling our inner coaching right there. I was like, this is where Donald's going to shine. He's going to get through, and he's going to get the sack to end the game, and he did it. And in my opinion, he should have won MVP, or there should have been co-MVPs, because those 2 plays were pivotal for the Rams to win this. And I'm a defensive guy. I love defensive players, and that's just a guy that I thought should have won the MVP, and they overlooked him. Now he's getting all the shine, going to, TV shows and speaking out, and he's been lit since freaking Sunday. So, and we don't know if he's going to come back. But what I took away from the game is, Cooper Kupp is a monster. Yeah. I always try to find ways because I'm like the white wide receiver is not elite unless they line up in the slot. But Cooper Kupp can do it all, and Cooper Kupp finds separation, man. He's the king. He is a wizard at separation, and I appreciate his game. He's humble. And Frat Stafford, man, it's been a long time coming. And just mix a little bit of water with that tequila, boy. Tom Brady told you right.
Yeah, he almost broke a lady's back. Yeah, some lady did break her back, poor lady.
Spinal.
It's spinal.
Yeah, but I thought, Victor, I got to give you a ton of kudos, man. I thought this game could have went one of 2 ways. And honestly, it stayed kind of more in the middle. I thought it could potentially be a complete blowout for the Rams, but the Bengals actually showed and proved that they deserved to be in this game. I mean, the defense held the Rams to 49 rushing yards, which I think was really, really huge down the stretch, especially along that whole entire first half. And then as soon as OBJ went down, you knew the Rams were going to try and mix it up a little bit more because they know they only have one weapon in Cooper Kupp. So you knew they were going to try and utilize that run game a little bit more, and they just couldn't get it going. Trey Hendrickson was a monster, dude. And I think he could have been on the other side if the Bengals won. He could have been one of those players that could have been an MVP for the Bengals. Obviously, I think it probably would have went to T. Higgins, but yeah. And then OBJ, I just got to say it: 2 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. He was on his way to a potential MVP had he not suffered a non-contact injury, which looked like a torn ACL at the time. Just recently confirmed that it was, and he will be getting surgery. Second time, I think, on the same knee. So that's a little bit concerning. But I think had he not got down, who knows? This game could have got out of hand really fast. But, neither here nor there. That's part of the game. And personally, I thought the Rams defense was a little bit slow early on. I know the score didn't show it early. I think it was 10-13 at half. But I thought they weren't applying a ton of pressure as much as they did in the second half. And I think that shows when a team wins and as A-Rod alluded to, winners win, that's when the defense does show up. And they ended up with 7 sacks, 26 pressures, and 16 QB hurries. I feel like most of that was in that second half. And I think my big key takeaway from this game is the Bengals need an offensive line, or Joe Burrow is not going to be in the NFL for very long.
Okay.
Agree.
I mean, what was it? Something like 22 sacks in the playoffs in 3 games, something like that.
Yeah, and it's
go ahead.
It's your show. Go ahead. It's not my show.
All right. All right. So I'm a little thrown off right now. Let me collect myself. So Joe Burrow, a little bit of that is on himself too. I don't know if you guys are watching, but he has the opportunity to step up in the pocket and avoid some of these sacks, but he continues to drop back and try and find those lanes to run just in case he needs to get out of the pocket. If he just steps up in the pocket, he would probably save himself some time. Now, I agree with you, Sammy, 100%. the number one concern for Cincinnati right now is an offensive line. The offensive line is garbage. He's obviously the reason. But some of those sacks are on Joey B as well. But just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
No,
and
I'm not opposed to that.
I think going into this draft last year, we were making fun of them because they took Jamar Chase. We're like, what the fuck are these guys thinking? They got two really good receivers. And little did we know that the LSU Bengals, a.k.a. the Cincinnati Tigers, whatever you want to call them, are just a team of LSU players. So whatever offensive lineman is on LSU right now, just go get him if he's available, the best one.
Agreed.
It's crazy to think that comparison that all of these LSU guys are going over there and excelling, and it's all because of where they went to college at, and they got this brotherhood and whatnot. But we all thought like Sewell should have been the exact choice, and Sewell probably would have been a good choice, but obviously the numbers speak for themselves, and Jamar Chase is running home with a offensive rookie of the year award and showing that he can be an elite wide receiver when we're seeing some of the greats finally start to fickle out now. So it's good to see that quarterback wide receiver tandem. It just sucks that it fell kind of short for them. But yeah, you got to beef up that O-line, and we're going to get another Andrew Luck out of a Joey Shiesty, man.
Yep.
So real quick before we move on to the next topic, just something that's it's a little bit early now, but we can kind of discuss it. Do you think these two teams currently have the possibility to return to the championship?
No.
So you don't think the Rams could repeat?
No, I don't think they have enough money.
Okay.
I think the Rams could. I don't think Cincinnati can, because I said this on my show last night that everybody in the AFC North is scary except for Cleveland. Cleveland's going to implode, and everybody wants to get out of there. Steelers, yeah, because you don't know what they have at quarterback, and there's some intriguing names that could be out there. So if they get a good quarterback, then remember Mike Tomlin. Remember Mike Tomlin gave Aaron Rodgers that wink during their game. So I've been saying that's linked. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to end his way up in Pittsburgh with Devontae Adams, but I think that those two, even it's the head coach. Like, he doesn't have a losing record, man. Mike Tomlin is a genius. No matter what happens, the guy is a genius. We'll get to see what he does this year.
Sideline. Mike Tomlin's overrated.
Whatever. Winners win, bro. That's all that matters. Fire him, right? Just you lose a game, you're gone. In Vic's book, you lose a game, he's fired. But,
I just not a Mike Tomlin fan. I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
I don't hate him. I think the quarterback was an issue for Pittsburgh this year, and sometimes Mike Tomlin does have questionable play calling. I'll agree with that.
He does. I like him, but players want to play for him because they can relate to him. He's young. I like the guy. So the Pittsburgh is scary still, and then once all the oars are in the water with running backs and DBs, Pittsburgh is definitely scary too, and you definitely know Cincinnati's going to revamp. They're going to get better players over there. But I think if the Rams do like what the Bucs did, with everybody buys in and comes in for cheap, and they can do it.
It did work out well for the Bucs.
Yeah, but still, the Bucs got pretty far. I mean, it's still inevitable. So I think the Rams, if any of those two teams could get there, it would between the Rams and the Bengals, it's going to be the Rams.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're talking about if it's one of these two teams who's going to make it back, I agree with you 100%, A-Rod. In that case, yeah, it absolutely, it's not even close. I mean, every once in a while we have a team just go on a Cinderella run, right? And I think that's what we had with the Bengals. It was beautiful to watch. Every game was close. They believed, they bought in. It was the 04 Red Sox, the idiots. They came in, they didn't know any better. They just won it. We're not talking about the 08 Celtics right now, guys. So yeah, no, absolutely, it's the Rams. But I don't think either team will be back for what it's worth.
Yeah.
It'll always come back to Boston sports. So
always the 08 Celtics. Everything is compared to the 08 Celtics.
Read the sign.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
All right, so this brings an interesting discussion now that Matthew Stafford, as all of us know, all of us have talked about, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat kind of understand and agree with, that Matthew Stafford has paid his dues, right? So if there's not many players or quarterbacks that are probably more deserving of this title. So we can all agree that we're probably a little bit happy that he finally got his ring. Now, with that being said, obviously this gives him another bump in his, in the Matthew Stafford legacy. With that being said, at this current moment, you can even answer this in however you want. You can either answer at this current moment, or you can answer it and elaborate and say, not yet, but he needs X. Is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer? I'll let our guest start with it.
Oof, I kind of wanted Vic to go first.
Okay, Vic, go ahead. Vic, go ahead.
No, I don't think so. Not a chance in hell.
Okay.
No, there's only 30 quarterbacks, 30-something odd quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame right now. I looked it up. I'm on the Hall of Fame website. Hall of Famers by position. There's about 30-some odd quarterbacks right now in the NFL Hall of Fame. If Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer, so is Matt Ryan.
Okay, so here's my rebuttal. We talked about this yesterday. Matthew Stafford has been in purgatory hell in Detroit. Kind of like how Dame Lillard is in Portland, and they're just like, yo, man, we want you to go. We want you to go and be the best you can be. But he's stuck it out, and he's done what he can there and wants to be there. So if you look at the numbers, when you have wide receivers that excel, like who did he throw to in Detroit? Megatron, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Who did he throw to in L.A.? OBJ
right.
And Triple Crown winner Cooper Kupp. So for those wide receivers to excel, you got to have a quarterback throwing to them. And if we think of the two greatest wide receiver seasons of all time, it's Megatron and Cooper Kupp's right now.
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss too, but let's just look at the numbers. Two of those players, and one of them was the quarterback, and it was Matthew Stafford throwing to both of them. And he got them to the Super Bowl this year. So those numbers don't lie. I know you want to go back to the Brady era and tie this into Townie sports and all Boston and everything, but all I can say is the guy's paid his dues. Two wide receivers had historical numbers and historical seasons for them, and I think Matthew Stafford deserves at least some conversation to be in the Hall of Fame for that.
How many Pro Bowls the man's been to?
Who cares? It's Detroit. You know he has to play against to go into the Pro Bowl?
Are you
looking at Pro Bowls now, Richard Sherman?
No, but let's look at Pro Bowl. Well, we have to look at Pro Bowls. We have to look at All-Pro. How many All-Pro teams has he made?
Look who he has to go against, though, man.
I don't care who he has to go against. That's how you become a Hall of Famer. Why are we just letting people in the Hall of Fame because they had to go against hard competition? I'm not going to give you points because you had two of the greatest wide receivers of a generation on your team. Let me know when you make it to a Super Bowl with Troy Brown as your number one wide receiver. Let me know when you make it to the Super Bowl with Deion Branch as your number one guy, okay? And then win it with them, okay? I don't want to hear about, you had the really good wide receivers had to have somebody good. He's a good quarterback. He might even be a great quarterback, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
If he goes back-to-back, how about that?
Then I'll give him consideration. Yeah, absolutely. But not right now.
Interesting, though, that you mentioned that, A-Rod. Just to throw this out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in agreement. I say no. But if you look at his track record, he has a very decent case. His career is 49,995 career yards. That's 12th among all quarterbacks ever.
Different eras.
But still, 5 seasons in the top 5. 323 passing touchdowns, which is 12th among all quarterbacks. He's got a Super Bowl ring, and he has Comeback Player of the Year. Now, let me add on to that, too. So I like to go on Pro Football Database and kind of peruse and look at players, look at their stats, look at what I thought they were as a player, and look at kind of what the metrics show. And they have a Hall of Fame monitor. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. If you scroll all the way down on Pro Football Database, they have a Hall of Fame number for all the Hall of Famers that have been in. They're usually pretty on point with what they predict is going to be a Hall of Famer. So the Hall of Fame monitor, his Hall of Fame score is 58.44. Now, this is the funny part. The average score for a quarterback in the Hall of Fame is 105. So he is very far off. Now, the players that are ahead of him that currently are playing, that aren't in the Hall of Fame, that are ahead of him right now, or currently playing or just recently retired, Aaron Rodgers. I think he's got, after Tom Brady, he's got the second best score. Drew Brees, I think he's in the top 5 as well as far as Hall of Fame score. Like Vic said, Matt Ryan, he actually has a decent score. I think all of these guys that I'm mentioning are above 80. So Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, A-Rod, is Carson Palmer a Hall of Famer to you?
Who?
Carson Palmer.
Oh, man. I would say no if it were me.
And at least he finished second in MVP voting. I mean, this guy, Matthew Stafford, never finished in the top 10 for MVP voting. Only won comeback player of the year. And I mean, you have to have accolades to be a Hall of Famer at least. You can't just have been a guy that did it for a while, so you got a lot of stats. That's my take on it.
I think your numbers read. I think you got to take in consideration that Detroit is just hell, and I think the guy did a lot of things and made 2 wide receivers have historical seasons. And I think we can say if Cooper Kupp keeps up this tear that he's doing in the NFL, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And you have to say that his best season was because of Matthew Stafford. So I think you look at it's a team game. So to get in the Hall of Fame, there's weird routes to get into it. Like, should Joe Namath, listen, I'm a Jets fan. Should Joe Namath be in the Hall of Fame? Probably the worst Hall of Famer out there that's been inducted to the Hall of Fame. But he's got a ring, and he beat Johnny Unitas, and he did the run in there with that. So you got to give the man his flowers. I'm giving Matthew Stafford his flowers. I got an argument that he couldn't be in there too, but I'm not going to Richard Sherman this and be petty. So
Richard Sherman, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he should be a Hall of Famer, but he's petty. He's very petty.
With that being said, he still has a couple years left. So who knows kind of what he's going to do to kind of add on to his legacy. But I think we can all agree that he was definitely due this one ring at least, and we'll see what he can do kind of the rest of his career to solidify that legacy going forward. But all right, let's get to kind of I think all of us are NBA heads, kind of our favorite time of year in the NBA, obviously after the playoffs. But, except for A-Rod. But the NBA trade deadline. So I kind of broke it down. I kind of touched on kind of the main ones, and I thought these were kind of good ones to touch on and talk about. So obviously, the big headline, huge headline, is the Brooklyn and Philadelphia trade. So if anybody doesn't know, we'll break it down real quick. Brooklyn sent James Harden and Paul Millsap, big whoop on Paul Millsap, 4, and Philly sent Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, 2022 first-round pick, and a 2027 first-round pick. So I like to let the guests go first, Vic. So I'm going to let the guests go first.
It's your show. It's Vic. Let Vic go. This is your.
No, you go first. You go first.
Vic would agree with me.
Bro, this is your show. This is the pilot. Vic is slobbering at the mouth right now. Let him go.
No. I want you to go. I want you to give us KK's perspective on this, the New York perspective and the Philly perspective. Yeah.
Well, KK is trying to come in here, so if you can let KK in, if you
can we get KK in here?
I can get KK in here.
Oh my God, yes!
He said send him the link, so I got my second half coming. I can't wait.
That'd be awesome. So then I will buy us time while Sammy's working on KK. I'll do what I do best and talk for a long time about nothing. All right, guys. So basically, what I want to say about this trade.
I'm going to cut to our "We'll be right back" screen. I think I have one of those somewhere.
Yeah, we'll be right back with me just talking and talking and talking. So this trade, obviously, the two biggest pieces here. We have James Harden, a.k.a. the Beard, and Ben Simmons, a.k.a. No-Show Ben, appearing here. So this is a trade that I feel like had a lot of momentum on the Philly side for a long time, ended up picking up momentum. Then momentum died when Steve Nash came out of nowhere and said, we're not trading James Harden. And then, 2 hours later, it's like James Harden is on his way to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons. Now, I'm looking at this from the Phillies. You essentially traded, probably one of your best role players in Seth Curry and Ben Simmons, who wasn't playing for you anyway, for James freaking Harden, who can be a great piece to sit with Embiid. I mean, I'll tell you what. the Celtics played against a Hardenless Sixers team.
Let's pause this real quick. We have the second half coming in here. Let me get him in here real quick. 1 second, KK.
Get him, man,
This is live. This is live television for
We
you
are
folks.
live, and this is bad because now I got to figure out which one he is.
What a great show. So Sammy, can I still talk while you're doing that?
Yes,
Or do
you can talk. You can talk.
Okay. So we have Ben Simmons, who a player wasn't even playing for the Nets. I don't understand. I don't know how much this could have gotten better for the Philadelphia 76ers. This is essentially the best trade that could have happened. Big ups to my guy Daryl Morey for holding his own and sticking in there. Hey, also Daryl Morey, product of Massachusetts, I believe. But you're welcome. And I'm just so happy that he ended up in a good situation, and that honestly, basketball is better for it, right? Brooklyn gets Ben Simmons, that team gets better. Philly gets James Harden, that team gets better. This is probably the most rare type of trade in the history of sports, guys, where you trade the superstar and it's a win-win. You both get good pieces. What are your thoughts, guys?
KK, take it away. Take it away.
Right ahead. You're in there.
Are we talking about the Philadelphia 76ers right now?
We are, of course. You came just in time.
So I came in just in time, huh?
You did.
All right.
I had to do a little editing on the live, so it was probably a little sloppy, but I got you in there.
So how do I feel about the trade? First of all, what you just said, Vic, was absolutely spot on. It was actually a very equal trade. Usually, if your team is part of the trade, you want to swindle the other team,
right?
Like the Tinder swindler. This one was down the line. I was like, damn, we both benefited from this, and for what we gave up. The only one I had an issue giving up was Seth Curry. I love Seth Curry. He's a fantastic player. He's top 5 percentage-wise in three-point shooting all time. Steve Kerr's on that list, funny enough, number 1. But anyway, that was the only problem I had. But we're getting Shake Milton back. He's healthy again. We still have Cork Maz, who can also shoot. Danny Green, when he wants to shoot, can shoot. Tobias Harris, when he wants to. We have guys that can shoot. And we have James Harden, who can also shoot. So basically, we've been top 4, top 5 all season long. We being the 76ers have been top 4, top 5 all season long without Ben Simmons playing. So basically, we gave up somebody who doesn't want to be there for somebody who wants to be there, who obviously he's a 20-plus point per game guy. I mean, he's having a down year, quote unquote, but he's still averaging like 20, 10, and 8 or something like that. So personally, I think this is an equal trade. I think what Brooklyn needed was a player like Ben Simmons. Basically, Kevin Durant needs like a Draymond Green kind of guy. And if Ben Simmons understood his role in Brooklyn, will it be more like that Draymond Green kind of player? Because what we needed for him, we wanted him to be LeBron, and that was never going to happen.
Nah.
If he could go be more Draymond than LeBron, I think he'll be a good fit for Brooklyn, as long as Kyrie and Kevin Durant are healthy and able to play. And they got shooters. They got Joe Harris. They got Seth Curry. They got shooters. They got that guy last night that beat up on A-Rod's Knicks.
Yo, that was wild. How do you blow it? Hey, I can't say anything because I'm a Celtics fan, so I can't say nothing about blowing 3-point leads.
Did you see Stephen A's ramble? That's
that was
exactly
gold.
how I.
That was
I
gold.
screen recorded it.
Boycott
I have it saved on my phone forever now.
That's gold.
Boycott them. Don't go to the games. They're just bad. They're just really bad. And if they fired Tibbs tonight, I wouldn't even give a shit, to be honest with you, because I had faith in him, but he's doing it. He's running players' knees into the ground, and they're just tired. They can't close out in the fourth, man. They can't. And they were known as a good defensive team, and they're not playing any defense. If a guy don't get me wrong, Cam Thomas is probably going to be a budding star, but not like a James Harden or anything like that. He'll be a good player in the NBA. But if you let him have his time in the Garden, come on, man. You were up 25 points, man. You were up 25 points. And if I'm Spike Lee, 20, whatever. If I'm Spike Lee, I'm not showing up to any of those games. Just don't go to. I feel like we talked about petty on our show last night and petty moments in sports. And one of mine was, the epic choke with with Reggie Miller to Spike Lee and how that trickled down to LeBron doing it and then Kobe dropping 60 and autographing the card saying, "This is for you, Spike. You fucked up." All of that, man. So, I mean, Spike Lee, like, you're the biggest fan out there, but I feel like people want to give it to you when you come in the Garden. Like, Spike's up front, I'm going to give it to the Knicks tonight. Raw dog, baby. So,
can we go back to talking about good teams?
Sad time for the Knicks.
Yeah, let's not talk about the Knicks. Let me do my TED talk about the James Harden Ben Simmons trade. I think it's a win-win for both. Like KK said, they needed somebody like a Ben Simmons out there. They needed some defense because that whole team, except for like maybe KD and when Kyrie is playing in the games, they're going to play a little defense. But they needed a defensive stopper. They needed a guy who can be kind of like that Draymond Green role. Ben Simmons doesn't really have to be a point guard anymore. He's scared to shoot. Maybe he'll develop a shot there now with the new chemistry around him. But if Brooklyn keeps playing at the pace they're going and they have to play into the playing game and they win, it's going to be scary for whoever is the first one out of the East to play them. They're going to be very, very scary if everybody's healthy, mandates are lifted, all of that, and Kyrie can play. Just pray that Kyrie doesn't identify as like a horse or something like that. And they're like, well, if you're a horse, you can't be playing.
Horses can't play in the NBA.
Yeah, horses can't play in the NBA. Silly, get out of here. So it's gonna be interesting. But I think James Harden can take on the role of being a team player with Embiid, and they can excel with each other. Joel looks happy. James looks happy. And let's just see if it can happen, because we all know Doc Rivers has to manage big egos all the time. And this may be the biggest ego he's had to manage while there. So we'll see what goes on there.
I mean, he did have to manage Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo and
but I feel like
Davis.
James Harden's a different. They weren't going to strip clubs in Vegas and shit like that during games and stuff. So he's got to manage this one. And James, I don't think, is on that boat anymore. I think he's down and ready to ride and win, and I think the Sixers have a good shot of getting there, even though you guys mopped them by 48 points the other night. But other than that, I think the Sixers are in good shape.
You were still on an emotional high. You had to give us a break. At that point, it was just...
We had to pop that balloon.
We were not ready for basketball just yet.
There was no reason for Embiid to take a James Harden step-back three, though, man. He got a little too excited when he did that.
I don't know what that was.
That's the MVP can do what he wants.
It's true. He is the MVP. I don't care what anybody says.
Who's that? Yeah.
Let me cook a little bit. So to me, like, who won the trade? Now, KK's gonna hate me at first, but then he's gonna agree with me at the end, or he might agree with me overall. But I think Brooklyn won the trade. But there's a caveat, right? And that's what Ben Simmons are they getting, right? Now, if they're getting a Ben Simmons, which for all intents and purposes, from the press conference, I'm going to trust his word. We don't know what his word means at this point. Looks like he's going to be more engaged. And he's going to a team that is not going to expect him to shoot. And he's going to a team that, no offense to Brooklyn, just there's not a lot of pressure in Brooklyn compared to what there is in Philly or even Boston or even for the Knicks. And to the Knicks, that's even kind of questionable anymore. But I think Brooklyn also had literally low risk because they replenished assets for a player who pretty much checked out and did not fit within the system that Kevin Durant and company seemed to want to run. And that could have been, Kyrie's situation. We don't know. And it all came out after that. James Harden was like, no, it's not the Kyrie thing. And Kyrie said, I didn't say this. I didn't say that. But besides the point, I think Ben fits the mold as an attacker, defender, and distributor that will allow Kevin Durant to shoot. It's going to be a lot easier for him. That's his game. He likes to shoot. And yes, he does like the ball in his hand. So I think that's going to be a little bit of things to notice is how can they kind of share that rock. But I think Ben Simmons has no problem with sharing the rock since he doesn't have to shoot. I think he's a good pick and roll player, pick and pop player. But I do think Philly got the better player in the deal. And honestly, that is the cost of doing business. Unfortunately, if you are Philly, that's the cost of doing business, is to give up some assets to get rid of a player that doesn't want to play and you have very little leverage on to get another player. So they did get a very good player for that return. So I think there's more high risk there. And I only say that because with James Harden, like let's suppose that this situation doesn't end up working? Is he going to check out? We don't know. Then do you trust him to say, I'm not going to check out? Because, well, if history says anything, we know you check out when things don't work out.
I didn't opt in. He forgot to file paperwork to opt in.
Yeah.
So technically, he's not opt in yet until season ends.
He's going to opt in.
He says he's going to opt in, just like Kyrie told us he'd love to re-sign with us.
Okay, whoa.
On the little leprechaun.
Kyrie is on another planet when it comes to
Literally.
his word and just how he thinks and all that stuff. One thing the only thing that gives me hope that I know he's going to be bought in is the fact that it's Daryl Morey. The only reason why he wanted to leave Houston in the first place was because Daryl Morey left, and he was left by himself on an island with a bunch of broken parts that didn't fit anymore, and they were rebuilding. And at the end of the day, I do know when he checked out the first time with Houston, it wasn't. I don't think it was a secret, but when he says that Philly was his first choice, I actually believe him, because Daryl Morey was trying to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. I don't know if
all along, yeah.
We were trying to get him all along, but Daryl Morey had just left Houston and to go to Philly, and he just left them like at the altar kind of thing. They didn't know it was coming. So there was no way that Houston was going to directly deal with Daryl Morey. So the only way this was going to happen was a three-way trade, which Daryl Morey talked about at the press conference. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen at that time. So we had to kind of just wait a year. And, all this talk about I'm waiting for a top 25 player, the only player that he was going to trade for all along was James Harden. It was all smoke and mirrors with, C.J. McCollum and Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard. It was always going to be James Harden, because I think they have that kind of relationship where I think he sees him, like an uncle or a father figure kind of thing where he can trust him. Yeah. And having Michael Rubin as well. Michael Rubin hangs out with Meek Mill and Lil Baby, and that's like James Harden's like best friends and stuff like that. It all comes together and it makes sense actually. So I think we have him for the long haul. I don't think he's going to go anywhere after this. I mean, how old is he? 32, something like that. So I think his contract kind of sucks, but we got a few more years with him, and then I think he might retire in a couple of years and just rise to the sun.
And I understand what you're saying, Sammy, but when I was comparing the two players, Simmons and Harden, I was trying to look up Simmons' stats for this year, and I couldn't find any. I don't know if it was
They're archived. They're archived.
I missed that. But I just
no claps on the bench, that's for sure.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing, though. Like, you're trading for a player who's actually been playing, and when he's not hurt, okay? And like KK said, him and Morey have a special connection. And I get that he checks out sometimes. He's just that kind of player, right? But when he checks in, and with Embiid there, I think there's going to be something different. All this team needed was really spacing and shooting. And essentially, they're upgrading Seth Curry to James Harden. Yes, they're giving up the picks. That's going to be a big loss. But if you're a team that's in right now, what you need to be, because this is your year to win it.
With an MVP.
The Nets are down. The Lakers are down. This is your chance. The Warriors aren't there yet. They could be by the time the championship comes, but they're not here yet. So this is your time to go for it. No better time than now.
I love
it. What did the Rams just prove to us?
Exactly.
Picks, right? Like at the end of the day, it was a 2023 and a 2027 pick. I don't give a damn about no damn 2027 pick. Oklahoma City has 45,000 picks, and they're still a bad basketball team. It doesn't matter, okay? I don't care about all these damn picks. So I mean, no offense, Boston Celtic fans, but you guys been hoarding picks for years, and
we got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown from those picks, though, brother.
And have no championships to show. Have no championships to show for it since KG left.
Eastern Conference Finals like 5 times in a row, but we don't have to talk about that. We don't have to talk about that.
I guess you want a participation trophy. Give him his flowers now.
It's hard to win a ship, man.
Thanks
it's hard
for playing.
To win a ship.
We've taken over. I
remember that last Eastern Conference Finals appearance when LeBron was just giving it to him.
I mean, remember the one where we had our superstar was 5'11"? Come on.
No, you guys are forgetting about the Heat run when we got beat by the Heat in the bubble.
Oh.
That was our last Eastern Conference
We had
run.
no idea what a zone was.
I forgot about that one.
No idea what a zone defense was.
Yeah, that was tough. That one hurt my soul.
Yeah.
I think that was 7 games, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even remember actually.
Oh my God, I'm still thinking about that.
2020 is such a blur for me. Like I don't remember anything.
I don't think we.
Dude, I was at Disney when we lost that game 7-2, and I was like, it was funny.
I hate Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. And I was golfing, and I saw Michael Carter Williams golfing at the golf course.
That's all
He wasn't in the
do,
bubble.
yeah.
Damn.
He was golfing. He was golfing at the Disney course.
Oh, that's right. He played for the Magic at the time, right? Oh yeah, They were terrible. They were out of the bubble at that point.
All right, let's go on to that next trade that we wanted to kind of touch on. This is a little bit of a weird one. So the Dallas Mavericks and the Washington Bullets, or the Washington Wizards. So the Wizards sent Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Mavericks, and the Mavericks sent back Porzingis and a 2022 second-round pick. So who wants to go first and touch on this trade and let me know what were your initial thoughts and who you think won that trade? Vic, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll be real quick here. I don't really care. I mean, this is just a who cares. Sad to see where Porzingis has fallen to. I still think he can be a decent role player, but he's not a star anymore. I mean, this is just a big whatever.
Yeah, as a former fan of Porzingis with the New York Knicks, that's Nix Knicks. He was whatever. Like I know he didn't want to be there because the way the front office treated Carmelo, and he didn't like that. And I was riding for that. I was like, yeah, this guy's a real deal. But when they sent him to the Mavericks, I was happy because like he's in a role to excel there, and you could see he wanted to be the focal point at all times. He wanted to be that man, but even when he was with Carmelo, he couldn't even be that man. He had to be the two guy. So that's what you have to be. And he's kind of like an AD to me, man. He's like Mr. Glass out there all the time. He's always getting hurt.
He's worse.
Yeah, AD's got the worst luck in the world, bro.
There's a difference between luck and glass, and Porzingis.
AD got glass, bro. When AD steps on, if AD sneezes on a court, like he grabs his nose and they got to take him to the medical room real quick. AD, like I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. Yeah,
this is
I love
great
the
sports
guy.
content.
I think he's got the talent. But AD, I'm sorry. Like if I'm the Lakers, I'm trying to explore trade options for AD because I'm like this guy just can't stay healthy with us because he's just too fat eating T-bone and cowboy steaks out here all the time. But the Porzingis trade is just like it was dumbfounding. It was like why did you even make that move? But obviously, it just. They got too many guards now. Like Jalen Brunson I've always been saying is a really good guard. Now, like, is he become expendable? Because Dinwiddie's pretty good too when he wants to be. And Porzingis, like, who cares, man? Like, you got to prove it now in Washington where it's hell over there now. Everyone's having fun over there, but it's hell. They even got rid of Montrezl Harrell, who's a good
guy. And the thing is with that, A-Rod, if we're looking at this in a vacuum, right? So obviously you're getting rid of Porzingis, and you're getting Dinwiddie, who actually could be Jalen Brunson insurance because Jalen Brunson's contract is up this year. He is going to be, I believe, a restricted free agent and can leave.
I thought they were trying to ink him back up. That's what I was reading.
No, they're definitely trying to resign.
Want to, yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to.
Correct.
Now, with Bertans, you get a little bit here. So are we going to get the Bertans from 21-22 where he's shooting 43% from three-point, or are we going to get the one who's currently shooting the one who's currently shooting 42% with Dallas, or the one that was shooting 31% with Washington beforehand, right? So typically, Bertans hovers around 43% from the three-point line. If he can get back up to that level, he provides Dallas with another shooter, gives Lucas some more space. The only thing you have to worry about with this trade on the Dallas side is Spencer Dinwiddie waving off Luka in the final 3 seconds of a game. He must take a game-winning shot.
I think Spencer Dinwiddie has enough common sense not to wave off Luka Magic. So I would hope he wouldn't do that. Just looking at the trade when it happened, that was one of those WTF moments for me. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Porzingis, I don't know what his issue is. I think he wants to be a number one somewhere, and he wants to be that guy, and wants to be the go-to guy, and he wants his role to be bigger than what it should be. You're a guy who's, you're tall, but you don't play big. You might block a couple shots, but you don't get rebounds like you should because you're always playing outside. You want to be a shooter. So, and if you're always, I don't know, his game is just so. It's like he wants to be Kevin Durant, but you're not Kevin Durant, bro. You gotta just, I don't know. It's with him.
He's soft.
He's soft. He's not. I don't know. He has so much potential, and you know who I'm concerned about is Chet Holmgren, because I feel like Chet Holmgren was going to become the next Porzingis, and it's just tall, lanky guy who can shoot, but kind of limited everywhere. I don't know.
Chet's got handles though. But let me ask you guys this: have you ever seen as good of a free throw shooter be so bad from the 3-point line as Porzingis has been this season? Typically, you have correlation there when you look at free throw percentage and 3-point percentage. Right now, he's 86.5 from the free throw line and 28.3% field goal percentage from three. Guys, I mean that's by far a career low. Number one, but number two, it's also surprising to me that Porzingis was never really a 38 or above 3-point percent shooter when there was so much hype about him being a unicorn.
Yeah,
he's not.
I'm looking at his career stats. I mean, he's never shot above 45%. Oh, he got 1 year of 47%. To me, when you're that tall, I know he shoots a lot, but when you're that tall, be closer to the basket. Like that's all I ask. Just try to be close to the basket. Rebounds, never average over 10 rebounds a game. How are you 7'3" and don't average over 10 rebounds a game? Right. Blocks, I can deal with. He can get amount of blocks per year. The 3-point percentage is terrible for somebody who shoots a high volume of three. And on the flip side, Bertans, he shoots threes, and to me, he's an efficient 3-point shooter. I trust Bertans more as a 3-point shooter than I trust Porzingis.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And you're getting Spencer Dinwiddie with that. So you're getting two guys who are more available. So they're going to be more available. They shoot a little bit better. They have more of a winner's mentality than Porzingis. I think Porzingis is a me guy. Dinwiddie's kind of a me guy too, but he should know. Like when you're in Washington and you have, especially when Bradley Beal's been hurt. And you have Kuzma and all these guys. I understand why they didn't get along with Dinwiddie because he feels like, all right, this is my team now. When in retrospect, that Washington team was just kind of just weirdly built anyway. Yeah. When you look at this team, we know Luka Doncic is the guy. If you're aware of that and you have enough, self-awareness to know that you're on your third team in 2 years already, like, all right, maybe I'm gonna take a back seat. There's a lot of. I mean, they have Finney Smith and Brunson and I don't know. It's a weird. It's gonna be weird with both of those teams. I don't think Washington is gonna be a good team for a while. I think Beal's gonna be gone after this year, so we're gonna see what happens with Washington. But with Dallas, to me, they're a first-round exit again. So it's like. Yeah.
Oh well, that's for sure. But let me ask you guys a question, and I guess we can leave it at this, Sammy. Because I know we've gone really long on such a meaningful trade here, but is Nikola Jokic having the career that Kristaps Porzingis should have had?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Oh my God, that's perfect. That's what they wanted him to be, and he is far from that.
Yeah. That boy thicker than a Boston accent though, so that's why he's good. He's not Mr. Glass. So
yeah, and that's maybe that's what he should have done.
But that's the one thing the Knicks wanted from him that I remember is they wanted him to bulk up and get muscle, and he never did that. Instead, he fought with like Yugoslavian guys outside of a club and got like a bottle thrown at him and shit, and just was like, I don't want to be here anymore. So Porzingis, in my books, like I like the guy. I was riding for him. I was hoping he did well. I thought Luka would have been the best pair for him. I thought he'd be more motivated, but he just can't stay healthy, and he's got to take a role as like a 3 or 4 option on a team now, maybe even a bench player. So yeah. I don't know. He's all smoke and mirrors to me is what he is.
He'd be good at Boston.
Yeah, send him to Boston. Enjoy.
No thanks.
I hope y'all get him.
Be like KG.
If you don't have to rely on him to be your top three player, I mean, to me, he's a very good he'd be a great piece to have, just to have.
I would rather have Grant Williams.
You sound like
Speaking of the
A-Rod when he was
Celtics.
talking about Mitchell Robinson the other day.
Speaking of the Celtics, obviously the other big trade that occurred for us, the Celtics send Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, 2022 first-round pick, and a 2028 first-round pick swap, and the Spurs send over Derek White. So I know Vic's going to cook real long, but I want you guys first.
We heard me. We already heard me talk about this.
I want you guys to tell us on the outside, bring us down to earth, because we have a lot to say about it, but we want to hear kind of an outside perspective, even though we have a pretty good outside perspective on the NBA, but just from you guys, what did you guys think of that?
I liked it, actually. I don't know. I mean, I think he's a fantastic basketball player. Josh Richardson. I mean, I've had Josh Richardson in Philly. He's not what he's built up to be. He had a decent time in Miami, but he's not really all that. That's why he keeps getting traded and bounced around. So, and then who was it? Romeo Langford. Like, okay, whatever. Who else did you guys give up?
That's it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Derek White comes from a fantastic system. Obviously, he has exposure to Udoka, so that obviously made sense too for him to be in that system. But to me, I mean, he's an excellent basketball player. I mean, he's not going to blow you away with 50-point games and all that stuff. But I feel like what he contributed in San Antonio was, to me, he was their second best player behind DeJounte Murray. That's how I felt. Well, when DeMar DeRozan was there, he would be, I would say, DeRozan and then DeJounte Murray. But once DeRozan was out the building, to me, he was their second. He's like a better version of Marcus Smart, if that makes any sense. That's how I saw it. So I think that was one of the more underrated moves of the trade deadline.
I agree. I know me and Sammy text about it. Like, I know you're going to get all into the numbers, and this is definitely towny sports, so we're going to have to talk about the one trigger Boston decided to pull or whatever. So, but I think it's a good move. I think Derek White is a guy that comes from a system where you're going to have the most winningest head coach in all of basketball, mentor you, and you get to have the option of going to Boston, who needs a point guard, and you're not being your value is there in San Antonio, but you're not going anywhere. So what are you really doing there? So Pop sees that, and Pop is a stand-up guy. Told him in the hotel room, like, hey man, you've been traded to a better team, and you're gonna do good over there. So I think it's a win-win. I think it's like one of those trades that everybody looks at and like, okay, whatever. But if you pay attention to basketball, like it's a good win for the Celtics and what they're getting in return. Now to Vic on the numbers. Go.
No, actually, Sammy and I talked about this in length. We had like a 20-minute mini podcast premiere about this.
Repeat it. Remember, you got to do it again because it didn't really pan out. So.
Oh well, I was not prepared then. But I'll go ahead and I'll do as
we didn't have any notes for that either.
The numbers here, and I'll be honest with you. Derek White has not impressed from downtown these past two games that he has been. Past three games that he has been with the Celtics. But A-Rod, I do love my stats, but with Derek White and the Celtics offense, it's not so much the stats, it's the eye test, right? So when you see him cooking, when you see him moving with that pace, making deliberate passes, and it might not be a pass for an assist, it might just be a pass just to start a break, or it might just be the initial pass in to Al Horford, who then dishes it back out to Grant Williams, who then dishes it over to Jason Tatum, and bam. Now, we saw last night where the Celtics lacked, right? So I'm sure not most of us did not watch that game unless you have NBA League Pass, but the Celtics fell to the Pistons last night after only scoring 5 points in the last 4 minutes and 25 seconds of the game. And you
look Pistons.
What's that? I'll tell you what, the Pistons played their asses off, okay? They shot over 50% for the second time all year last game, but I will say this about that those last 4 minutes and 25 seconds. The ball stopped, and Derek White stopped initiating the offense. And you saw what happens there when Derek White gets exposed for too long. That's why you need Marcus Smart in there or another guard to switch things up. But that's beyond the point. In the previous two games that he had been incredible, starting the break, pushing the pace forward. But when you don't let Derek White run the offense, we have the tendency to fall back into this Tatum Brown offense, which killed us last night, and was the exact opposite. KK, I'm sorry about against your Philadelphia 76ers. That ball was cooking. That ball was moving. It looked like that thing was on fire. Okay, the way they were getting rid of it out of his hands. And some of the passes that Derek White makes, I'm just like, holy crap. This guy has immense skill, and I'm happy to have him on the team. I think last time we spoke, Sammy, I brought up his numbers when guarded and unguarded from three. I have changed my stance now, where I was thinking that he'd be a hover around the 3-point line, be a good outlet for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think this guy's better suited to initiating the offense, and I like to see him when he's pushing the ball up the floor.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is in a vacuum, as you had mentioned in previously. This looks like a trade where the Celtics potentially lost, right? You look at Josh Richardson, who's having a career year, which, for all intents and purposes, this might be a perfect opportunity for Brad Stevens to show he's a good GM because he sold high on a player that was shooting 40% from three and never has done that before. But I think when you dig deeper into it, it was more of, okay, we have to give up some of these valuable assets that other teams look at as valuable that we may not see as valuable for us to get somebody that's probably more valuable for us that somebody else is not utilizing the value for. I think, like you mentioned, Vic, White provides a ton of ball handling, vision, and smarts, and I think that's something the Celtics extremely lack. Not to mention, slightly older veteran player, not somebody super old like Al Horford, but somebody kind of a moderately aged veteran. Romeo Langford, it might come back and bite us in the butt, honestly. He is going to get this opportunity to develop under Pop, and we might look back on this in 2 or 3 years when he's like an 18-point, 5-assist, 6-assist player, and we're just like, damn. But I mean, to be fair, he wasn't going to get that opportunity to grow on this team being so far on this bench. Unfortunately, but it's good for him. I'm happy for him. He gets to go to, arguably one of the best coaches of all time and probably show what he actually everybody thought he was going to be coming out. And again, the Spurs would be the only team that could provide him with that type of value while also seeing him as value. I'm a little bit concerned with the picks, honestly. Not so much next year's. I think a little bit of the pick swap in 2028. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think this did solidify that, who gives a crap. But like we mentioned with the Sixers, who gives a crap about the picks? You have the opportunity to do something now with the Jays. And Brad Stevens says, all right, roll the dice. 6 years from now, I'm punting that for the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown right now. So
and another thing here, right? So the thing that really goes unnoticed here is the size of Derek White's contract, right? So if you look at Derek White's
the numbers.
So friendly.
Well, it's not that it's friendly, Sammy. It's the way that it fits, right? So Derek White's contract mixed with Marcus Smart's contract could fit a Bradley Beal, right? We could get a Bradley Beal with Derek White, and we might even be able to fit Derek White into an exception if we trade Derek White for a Bradley Beal during exception. I have my eyes right now on a guy who's a little bit unhappy in Utah. Okay,
he's coming to the Knicks.
Donovan Mitchell?
Named Donovan Mitchell, who
I'm hard on, but he's coming to the Knicks.
Listen.
No way. Not a chance.
I'm going to cut all this off right now, okay?
He's not going to Philly. No, I'm just kidding.
No. What? If you're going to hold on to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, all these pipe dreams of Bradley Beal and Donovan Mitchell, you don't need any of that. What that team needs is a pure point guard.
Paul.
Oh, yeah, no, agree there.
If this Celtics team had Chris Paul, they'd be in the NBA Finals. I promise you that. It's that simple.
Every year.
Because what you just said a few minutes ago about what happened last night. His turn. It doesn't work. When you have two amazing wing players, that his turn, it doesn't work as well as it should. That's why when we look at James Harden's situation, Ben Simmons can be that point guard for Kyrie and Kevin Durant, where it's not, all right, your turn, Kevin. Because that's why Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant never worked. Because it was his turn. Russell Westbrook's not a real point guard. Triple-double, whatever. He's not a true point guard. Certain teams, when you have amazing wing play, you just need a point guard to just settle everything down. Donovan Mitchell will be too aggressive. He's going to want to score all the time. What's his name? Bradley Beal is going to be the same way. Like if you guys have a younger Rondo with this same basketball team, it'd be perfect. And that's why Derek White is a good fit on this team. That's why Marcus Smart is a good fit for this team, because you need unselfish point guard play essentially, so that you can put these guys in better spots to be successful. That's why Chris Paul goes to Phoenix and now they're the best team in the NBA overnight. Like it was that simple. Get you a point guard and you're the best team in the NBA overnight.
And I think that gets lost in all of this with the Celtics is Marcus Smart is finally filling that role that he's probably always wanted. He probably always wanted to be the point guard for this team, but we kept going and get Kyrie. Then we got Kemba. And before that, it was Isaiah. So he never truly got to be that point guard, even though he has that skill. Coming out of college, that was his skill. He was a penetrator, penetrate, dish. And now he's finally getting that. And I don't want that to get overshadowed by Derek White coming here when we were on a win streak before he showed up. But it definitely does help, and he provides more size. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, don't be overly focused on scoring point guards. I feel like Boston's been so focused on that. Like, no, you don't need a scoring point guard. You need a facilitator who can run an offense. That's all they need. Sure. Play some defense, run the offense, keep the guys in the locker room in check. Just a general at that. Makes sense.
Yeah. Very fair. Very great point, KK.
Okay, so for the last trade, I don't know if you guys want to touch on this one as well. I think this one happened before the trade deadline, but we didn't have a pod since then. So the Trailblazers finally seem to start to cut ties. So the Trailblazers send C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance Jr. The Trailblazers send C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell. And the Pelicans send Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Thomas Satoransky, Didi Lazuda, and obviously one first-round pick and the other 2 second-round picks. So what did you guys think of that, first of all, with Portland kind of looking like, oh, we're just going to get rid of C.J. McCollum here?
Have you guys watched Anthony Simons play?
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's nice.
C.J. McCollum at that point is too expensive, and he's expendable. The way he's been playing, luckily I have him in fantasy basketball, and I'm loving every second of it. They're on a 4-game winning streak right now. They beat the Lakers, the Knicks, the Grizzlies, and
don't say that team,
and the Milwaukee Bucks. 4 in a row. And Anthony Simons averaging 30 points a game during that stretch. I think about 6 or 7 assists during that stretch. He's shooting lights out. So that combination now, obviously, Damian Lillard, no matter what, they can. Like I used this analogy the last time. You know, Damian Lillard is somebody who constantly gets cheated on, and they're leaving the evidence behind, and he's still going to stay loyal to his significant other. No matter what Portland does, they get rid of C.J. McCollum, they get rid of Gary Trent Jr., then they get rid of Norman Powell, they get rid of everybody. He's still going to stick around. So if that's the case, he wants to stick around, we're going to rebuild this with Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard. Then cool. Because to me, I wouldn't say he's a better player yet than C.J. McCollum, but you're getting somebody younger, fresher legs, and cheaper. At the end of the day,
they can probably do the same thing, same skill set.
Who can do the same exact thing, and now you're able to build a roster because now you have a little bit more space to kind of work with. And I think them having Anthony Simons moving forward is huge. So the trades that they got rid of and all the picks and all who cares at this point. The fact that they have Anthony Simons gave him the confidence to, all right, well, at least we got him, and we'll move forward with that.
Well, and honestly, Simons would have been a top 10, top 5 pick had that whole sex scandal not gone down at Louisville, where he had committed. Instead of joining Louisville, he decided then to just play in the IMG Academy and take a year off, and then get drafted 24th to the Portland Trailblazers. So, I mean, this kid's only 22 years old, which is nuts because it feels like he's been in the league forever, right? Yeah. I'm not sure about his contract situation. I could be wrong, but I think he has a contract coming up shortly, so he might not be cheaper for long. But I think you're right, KK, when you say he's going to end up being the better player here. He's about the same size as C.J. McCollum, but the thing is, like my thing is
longer. He's actually longer than C.J. McCollum.
Right, in terms of length, but My thing is, I have a philosophy, and it's two undersized guards don't win championships. I just don't think that you can have a 6'3" point guard and a 6'2", whatever Dame is, 6'1" shooting guard win a championship. I think you need some size in those positions nowadays, especially with the Ben Simmons of the world. The James Hardens, who I know is a shooting guard, but he's really the point guard on whatever team he's on. These big point guards out there. The last successful short point guard I've seen, like in terms of a point guard dishing role, has been obviously Chris Paul. You don't see a lot of distributing shorter point guards.
Well, you look at Phoenix. Chris Paul is a smaller point guard. Devin Booker is 6'4", 6'5". He's not like super tall or anything like that. And so you look at the competition in the West. Who do you have to go against every night? You look at Utah. It's Donovan Mitchell 6'3", 6'4". Conley's 6'2", 6'3". Clarkson's like they're all smaller guards. You look at Denver. It's Jamal Murray is not that big. To me, Anthony Simons, he's 6'4". He has a 6'9" wingspan. He was in a dunk contest, and we see how high he gets.
Yeah,
so he's
athletic,
super athletic. He's a smaller two-guard per se, if you want to call him a two-guard, whatever position. It's positionless basketball at the end of the day nowadays. So
Amen.
It's who really cares? I think they'll be fine. They need to find just amazing wings now. I don't know what's up with Nurkic's situation contractually and what they want to do with him, but if they can get some really good wing play, then they can be back in business. And then obviously a better bench. But you see how the East is strengthening right now. The East is the hardest it's ever been in a very long time. The West is getting easier. At the end of the day, you got Phoenix, you got Golden State, and then you have a young Memphis. Outside of that, it's who can you really trust in the West? So. And Portland, they've been to the playoffs the last few years. Obviously, this year not going how they wanted to with the injuries that they've had, but they're not a team that's foreign from being in the playoffs. So it's not like they can't just get right back into the playoffs. Minnesota's in the playoffs right now with Anthony Edwards, 6'3". What's the other guy's name?
All right. Pat Bev. Let me talk.
Yeah, those guys. They're all small.
Let me talk. All right, so this is just. Yeah, I just want to chime in. We're quick to see a player do well and do good, but let's be honest. Anthony Simons has been buried on that bench for a long time, and the star players on that team have been hurt. And when players start to get a buzz, it's because they're on a trash organization or a small organization, and those players have been hurt. Their stars are hurt, so they're just hey, let's see what we can get out there.
Jeremy Lin.
Whatever. All right. But you see players blossom in organizations where their stars go down and they want to see what the youth can do. So this is just an opportunity where you get to let a young guy play and he can blossom into something, or he can't. I say it's too early to call for me. I think it's a small sample size. I think he has the talent. I think he has the athleticism. He's a little bit bigger than CJ McCollum, but is it going to pair well with Dame? Dame and CJ were very good together, and I just think that Portland is just let's scrap and rebuild. Let's try and convince Dame, Matthew Stafford, we love you, bro. We'll put a statue outside of there. We'll rock with you. We'll be the Los Angeles Trailblazers if you win one with Bron. But please just go win. We want you to win. But Dame's not going to do that. So they're allowing the youth to see what they can do with that, and he's taking advantage of it. Will it translate to next year? I don't know. We'll see. Because if they go and get another star and pair him with Dame Lillard, I don't think you're going to get the Anthony Simons you're seeing this year. You might get a 10 guy, 10 points a game and 3-3 or something out of him, or a 6-man type role. But he's taking advantage of it, and I appreciate it. But I just don't see overpaying for this guy. I don't see a lot of hype around it, in my opinion. It's cool, but it's just a team that's just sold all their assets, and the young guys are going to play now. So look at who's the guy who was for North Carolina, who was supposed to be a lottery pick coming in. That's with the Trailblazers. He's playing pretty well too. I can't think of his name, but the youth is going to strive there now that Dame's not there. And what's his name? Nurseth or whatever. He's just a big body who he needs Dame to feed him. So I don't know. I'm happy for it, but ain't done it. All I learned from the trade deadline is Portland blew it up. Sacramento blew it up. We don't know why they blew it up with Halliburton, and Indiana blew it up too. And I think Indiana and Sacramento kind of got better with blowing it up. So that's what
Dame seems like a loyal player anyway, that he probably would stick around and want to tough it out. Unless something obviously blows his mind, if somebody offers some sort of trade or an opportunity elsewhere. That
I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take for him to be like, fine, I'll leave. Like, I don't know. It's like,
right. Well, he's old now, right? So every year goes by and he doesn't get traded. There's less and less interest. I don't know how many people are going to be wanting to take. Honestly, I wouldn't want the Celtics to take on his contract at this age.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't either. Yeah. Not with his lack of defense
especially coming off an abdominal surgery. That's tough.
But all right, we're about to get to Vic's Townie takeaway. But KK, you weren't on earlier. We got you in kind of actually at the perfect opportunity for you. But we asked this question. I think you guys had touched on it yesterday as well. So with the Matthew Stafford legacy, as he adds a ring to his reign of stats and obviously paying his dues, right? He's obviously paid his dues in the NFL to earn that ring. Is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer? And if not, what do you think he needs to get to that Hall of Fame status?
Is he a Hall of Famer? So my only issue that I have with having these conversations is that we're talking about a guy who's not done yet. So I feel like the people who are so quick to jump on him, like, what has he done? Da 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 da. Like, look. So take it from me, who's from Detroit, Michigan, and I don't root for the Lions for a reason. I don't root there's a reason for that. The Lions are a pathetic organization. It's just it is what it is. Barry Sanders retired before he was 30. Calvin Johnson retired before he was 30. That is what Detroit is. To me, the greatest running back of all time is Barry Sanders, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And Calvin Johnson. Can you imagine if Calvin Johnson played with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, somebody like that? He was already a first ballot
all the time.
He was a first ballot Hall of Famer as it was with the Detroit organization. So, long story short, the two greatest receivers of all time are Cooper Kupp and Calvin Johnson, and Matthew Stafford was behind both of those. Right? Is that right or wrong?
I mean, A-Rod said the same thing. I just think I don't know. I don't. I'm not credence to other players.
Let me finish my point. That's first of all. Is that a correct statement or not?
No, that's correct. You're missing Randy Moss's statement. Randy Moss's.
23 touchdowns. Exactly. 23 touchdowns. That's fantastic. But you guys are Patriots fans. I would expect you guys to say that. That was the greatest offense of all time, though. That was more than just that's Tom Brady. Okay. At the end of the day, we're talking about Tom Brady. We're not comparing Matthew Stafford to Tom Brady. Okay. So again, to this question. I'm going to bring it back to you. Do you guys think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer?
No.
No? Not at all. Like, not even a vote?
No.
Third ballot? Okay. All right,
there's only like 30-something quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame right now.
To me, I think he still hasn't finished writing his book, so I think it's too early to have this conversation. But when it's all said and done, he will have a winning record because right now he has a losing record. Detroit has a lot to do with that. But when he finishes his career, I think he will have a winning record. He's gonna have 70,000 yards, and he's gonna be. Look at Drew Brees' career. How many rings does Drew Brees have? He has one ring. Matthew Stafford has one ring. Aaron Rodgers has one ring.
How many MVPs does Drew Brees have?
Does he?
How many players of the year does he have? How many?
You're playing with Sean Payton.
I mean.
Like, you got to understand where this guy just came from. And in his first year in Detroit, in LA, he wins a Super Bowl. Like, that is not easy to do. Like, what he just pulled off is not easy to do. Like,
he had an all-star team.
That's why he's my co-host.
It doesn't matter. You know how many all-star teams I see lose? It's like the Bills, to me, the Bills this year, on paper, had one of the best rosters top to bottom. And couldn't do anything with it. Like, it's hard to win in this league, especially when you have no continuity. And when OBJ went down in that Super Bowl, and he's throwing at Skoranek and
IKEA furniture.
the fourth string tight end, and who else? Like, I'm like, who the hell is he throwing to? He's throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp, third round pick. Like, that's all he had. So to me, it's still a little bit too early to have this conversation, but I do feel that when it's all said and done, his stats will be comparable to some of these great guys that we adore and love so much, and he has the hardware now to back it up. Can he win an MVP? It's possible. I mean, Sean McVay likes to throw that ball around, so he's already thrown for 5,000 yards before when he was with Caldwell. There's no reason why he can't throw for another 5,000 yards. You said what?
I think he had 5 years where he was in the top 5 in yards in a single season, and I think he threw for 5,000 twice.
For 13 years, less than half the years he's played, he was top 5. All right, guys.
All right, and the other three he was in the top 10.
Right, well, whatever.
And this is with the Detroit Lions. Now he's with a respectable organization.
With arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time.
Who he said what?
Still have to throw the ball.
He was with arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time.
Okay, and Tom Brady Tom Brady finally got one of the arguably the greatest wide receivers of all time, and he broke a record. When you have good receivers, that's what you do.
Exactly, though. I mean, the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, that's what they do, right? They win playoff games with great wide receivers, right? Oh, wait, never mind. Not Matthew Stafford. He didn't win any with that wide receiver.
Skoranek? Who was number 18? Who was number 86?
Cornishka.
Come on.
Pillow.
Like, listen, at the end of the day, all I know is that the same reason why we adore all these guys with all these hefty numbers, Matthew Stafford is going to finish his career with all those hefty numbers and hardware now. So at the end of the day, it's just he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. I think you guys just need to come to he's not Joe Flacco, where it's like a fluke ring. He's not Nick Foles or Trent Dilfer, where those rings don't really matter. This is a ring where it actually does matter. Like, it actually does make sense because he does throw the ball for 5,000 yards a year. I mean, that's what he does. He is like Brett. Like, look at Brett Favre. Brett Favre. We hyped this man up so much for all this gunslinger and this, that, and the third. What is the difference between Matthew Stafford and Brett Favre? Can you please tell me the difference between the two of them? They're the same player. Throw a lot of balls, throw a lot of touchdowns, throw a lot of yards, and throw a lot of picks. And they have
That's
one
my
ring
co-host.
Each. And they have one ring each. Can you tell me the difference between the two of them? Absolutely nothing.
MVPs, Pro Bowls, playoff wins. You want me to keep going?
Listen, I agree with Richard Sherman that yes, he doesn't have any like all pros and all that. Like, that part is a little alarming, but it doesn't change the fact that
Detroit.
It doesn't change. Like, the Detroit thing is a real thing for me. Like, I get it. I get it.
I mean, currently, to your point, KK, he is 12th among all quarterbacks in career yards and 12th among all quarterbacks in passing touchdowns. And like you just said, he's not done.
Yeah, he has like 4 years left in him.
I just think different eras, right? I think, Kyler Murray's going to end up with freaking top 10 yardage stats. You know what I mean? Like, these yardage things are tough to look at. I like to look at how they compared. So for me, I like to look at how they compared to their colleagues at the time, right? And that's all pros. That's where you get the offensive players of the year. That's where you get the playoff wins, right? And I don't care. You guys can throw the excuse that Detroit. Joe Burrow just did it with Cincinnati in his second year in the league, guys. And so
yes, I mean, I get it. I get that argument. I really do. Okay, but what Cincinnati finally did was let's go get some defensive players. That's why they won. That as great as Joe Burrow was, and as great as Jamar Chase was, the reason why they were able to make it this far was that D-line got better. The linebackers got better. The secondary got better, even with Eli Apple's bum ass out there. Like, they got better defensively. And at the end of the day, the reason why Patrick Mahomes only had 3 points in the second half, it had nothing to do with Joe Burrow. That was the defense. That wasn't like an organizational thing that they had to overcome. Because at the end of the day, it's hard to overcome bad organizational decisions. And Matthew Stafford would throw for 5,000 yards and score 35 points, but the defense gives up 42. It's a team thing. And Matthew Stafford came up during the time of Tom Brady, the back end of Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. Like, there's a lot of great quarterback. Aaron Rodgers. There was a lot of great quarterbacks during his day. He happened to play in Detroit. And then finally, Finally, all of those big names that I just mentioned, for the most part, Brady. He beat Brady to get to his first Super Bowl. He beat San Francisco, which they were struggling against. Like, he beat pretty good teams to get to that first Super Bowl, and that's because he finally had an organization that cared about winning. And to me, at the end, you have to win to get these accolades, to get all these All-Pros and all that stuff. So
KK, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Vic don't want to drink, bro.
It's cool. We will have this conversation in 4 years.
That's a great take.
When we have this conversation in 4 years, when he's top 5 in every statistical category, probably finally gets an All-Pro or something. Because I mean, I don't know about the All-Pro thing because there's a lot of great young quarterbacks, but he's gonna get some Pro Bowls in the NFC. It's just him and Aaron Rodgers, and we'll see where Russell Wilson goes. But
yeah, and where Aaron Rodgers goes.
Right, that's good. Thank you, KK, for putting that input, because I know that was something that I wanted you to come on too and talk about as well. So at least we got you to shed some knowledge on that aspect. But with that being said, Vic, your Townie takeaway. Take it away, brother.
All right, well, I'll make it short and sweet. I know, first of all, I want to thank the guys from the Fairweather Pod. It's the first time we've had you both here. And it's been obviously an absolute pleasure, as always, having you guys.
It's because we have a beautiful new scene and everything.
We could go like 3 hours with you guys and just do like a long 3-hour exclusive pod. You can find that on our OnlyFans, guys, on our tiny OnlyFans. It's just 3 hours of us arguing about Matt Stafford being a Hall of Famer.
We get naked. We get naked slowly.
Yeah. You
gotta be kidding me.
Close while we're talking. This is our Tiny Sports. No, so my time takeaway, like I said, I'll keep it short and sweet. It's kind of a mix of two things. First, I want to talk to you guys about the Olympics. Has anybody been watching the Olympics this year, the Winter Olympics?
Not like I'm watching curling and hockey.
Yeah. So exactly, nobody's really watching, and apparently it finished behind 60 minutes this Tuesday in terms of viewership. It finished 9th overall.
It's bad.
So yeah, it's not doing great as it had been previously, and not only that, you have the optics. I don't know if you guys saw that picture that went out of the long jump with the 2 nuclear towers in the back.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a great look. I remember growing up as a kid.
Do you?
Watching I do. It was amazing. But looking forward to the Olympics, right? Looking forward to the hockey, looking forward to the bobsledding, looking forward to the ice luge, and
Apollo Ono.
Right, Apollo Ono. Speed skating. You would watch these
John White
and watch these weird sports in primetime on NBC, and these anchors are taking you from here to there, and now tune in to Apollo Ono and the free skate or on the speed skating course, and you sat there, and then they brought snowboarding in, and it was like, this is awesome. I love this. This is appointment television, but I believe the streaming services have killed the Olympics, and cable is not what it used to be, which is leading to the downfall of the Olympics. I know it's some crazy take, but this is how I feel, and I remember watching that sport where they'd go on their skis, they'd stop. They pull out a rifle out of nowhere and something, put the fucking rifle back on their back, and then ski another 10 miles, and then next thing pull the rifle out. But these are all things that have just gone to the wayside that I haven't even paid attention to. And like KK and Aaron said, I haven't even watched any of the curling. I loved the curling 4 years ago.
Curling. I gotta watch the curling.
Oh, dude, I tried to, but it's like 5 a.m. and I'm like, I can't do this, and I can't watch sports on tape delay unless it's the Celtics.
Curling.
You see the shoes back here. Homeboy on the curling team came out with some exclusive dunks on. I was like, yo, I'm surprised, man.
I tried out for the team, and they did not take me. My beard was not long enough. But it's just
so he became a craft brewer instead.
Exactly. So I just wanted to point out that the Olympics are going on, guys. If you have the chance to tune in, some amazing things are happening. I couldn't tell you because I haven't tuned in a bit, but I know that the Olympics are still great, and I highly recommend anybody just tuning in, because I worry about a time that we get to the point where demos fall far enough and ratings fall far enough where we don't get the Olympics anymore, and in the same way that we get them now, where it's this huge spectacle. They have the opening ceremonies. It's this whole thing. I wish the Olympics were special still, and unfortunately, it's just not the way it is. My second thing I want to talk about was my original towny takeaway from 2 weeks ago about the United States men's national team and the United States men's national team players playing abroad. I'm going to be very quick about this, but we have some very great USMNT players playing abroad in the Champions League. Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, George Bello playing overseas as well. Bucio, who's playing in Vesnia. Serginho Dest, of course, playing for Barcelona. Daryl Dike playing for West Brom in the Championship in England. And just the list goes on and on. I can't forget Mark McKenzie, Weston McKinney, Matt Miazga, and I'm going down a list, guys, of names that are in European leagues, and I have skipped a bunch. This would have been unheard of 5 years ago even. It's all these young Americans playing overseas. So just if you guys have a chance, just support your United States men's national team. We have a big up and coming qualifier coming up against Mexico, and another one against Panama here in the United States in Orlando, which I will be attending. So if you can get behind this USMNT team, it's going to be, if we can make it through qualifying, it's going to be a good run.
He said rear them.
What's that?
Rear them. Get behind them.
Rear them. Get behind them. Get all up in that. Taste it if you want to.
Can I just really quick, because you were talking about the Olympic thing. I actually have this theory that I've been thinking of. Mm-hmm. Because I pay attention to a lot of weird stuff and I read too much and all that stuff. And these leagues, these cable deals and all that stuff, and Amazon's getting involved now with Thursday Night Football. Like, there's so much happening just behind the scenes, just from who's running the world kind of thing. So who runs the world right now? Amazon, Facebook, Metaverse, all that stuff. I think what's going to happen eventually, it's going to be more. They want, I remember Adam Silver said it a couple years ago, where he wants the game to look more like a video game. Like, he literally said this when he first took over from David Stern, is that he wants the game to look more like a video game. That's how he wants it to be presented. And I think that's going to become more of a thing across all sport, is that we're going to get more and more into this virtual reality kind of thing. And then, the streaming services have taken over as well. So Amazon's involved now, and eventually everyone's going to have a streaming service. So I think cable, as we know it, is dead. Ratings are not going to really matter as much as it used to, because, it's really hard to track who's really using what to watch what. There's so many different ways that you can watch all these things. I have Peacock, so I can watch a lot of this stuff on Peacock, and I watch the reruns on, they're taped, whatever it is. I watch them on Peacock, so they don't know that I've been watching curling and hockey, because I'm not watching it live on cable. I've been watching it, off of the rerun that's on Peacock. So, I think as we just dig a little bit deeper and deeper into this virtual reality and all the streaming services and all that stuff, to me, cable is becoming obsolete, and we can't go off of that with the ratings. Now, I will say this Winter Olympics was controversial to start with, so it was automatically not going to have a lot of people wanting to watch it in the first place. Just all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, over in Beijing and everything like that, and obviously where it's taking place with, like you said, the industrial looking thing, and there's player everyone was getting on that one girl who played I forgot what sport it was.
In Russia, it was your figure skater.
Yeah, that whole thing, and it's just there's so much just crap, honestly, just happening behind the scenes where it's like. And it's like 12-hour, 13-hour difference between Beijing and the United States. It's just so much just to deal with. And I'm not surprised that it's been, if the numbers are accurate, I'm not surprised that it is flopping right now. Mm-hmm. But you are right. The way they market these things now needs to change, because I do remember a time which I was, I think it was when they, where were they at? I think they were in Salt Lake in 2002, right?
Yeah, in Salt Lake. Yeah, was it Park City or Salt Lake?
Yeah, I remember vividly being like, "Oh my God, Ono was going to be like." I remember that, but maybe because it was stateside, so it made more. Maybe the time difference wasn't as bad. But It is not marketed the same anymore. Like I do like that Olympics music, like da, 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 da. I do like that, so it is nostalgic for me. So hopefully we do get back to that, but I heavily doubt that from a cable standpoint we're gonna get that because I mean we live in a world of streaming and metaverses and Bitcoin and stuff. So that's where we're heading.
Amen, man. Couldn't have said it better.
But all right, guys. We've had A-Rod on plenty of times, so everybody knows where to find A-Rod. And you, technically, KK. But, KK, I'll let you take it away. Where can everybody find you? This is your time. This is your time to plug for us.
I get to plug stuff? Wow.
I get to plug, too.
I suck at this. I don't even know how to do this.
Let me plug the podcast and you plug yourself.
Yeah, okay? You do that.
All right, so you can find us on Twitter at the fair_weather pod. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the Fairweather Podcast. And if you subscribe to podcasts, then you can find us anywhere you subscribe there. And then as for me, if you want to find me on IG, I'm _Plátano Maduro _
What about you,
turn?
All right. I had to look up my Twitter. I don't remember my damn Twitter name. My Twitter name is SLB2, the number 2, K11, KAY11. So SLB2K11, that's my same as Twitter and Instagram.
Same thing.
I'm on Facebook. I don't really use Facebook anymore. I might get convinced to get a TikTok. We'll see, but I don't really know about TikTok stuff.
You should get one for the pod, man.
I think I might. We were discussing it yesterday shortly on our show, so maybe TikTok is coming, but
throw some on there.
I'm easy to find. Just look up this handsome face on social media. You'll find me.
But all right, of course, we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and obviously thank you to. Actually, now it's not one half; it's actually both halves of the Fairweather Podcast, who joined us today on our inaugural premiere, pretty much on our first premiere of our own station and everything. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. Welcome to all of you to our new home of sports. We're going to be giving you so much more great content. Obviously, it's going to look very, very beautiful. Probably not have as much sound issues. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We are live. I know today was a little different, but we will be live every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time as my girlfriend runs behind me. We love you all, and thank you for choosing us for your listening pleasure on all things sports. This show would not be possible without any of you. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to like the video, subscribe. Also go to the Fairweather Pod, find them on YouTube. Also like and subscribe to their stuff too, because we'll be on theirs, they'll be on ours. We're going to do a lot of stuff together. It's going to be great.
We're sluts for each other.
Everyone reviews, likes, and subscriptions help us so we can get more viewers, we can get more things, we can get more advertisements, and we can give you guys a lot more giveaways and prizes as we kind of grow this channel even more. So again, like and subscribe, tell your mom, tell your neighbor, tell your husband or wife, tell your aunt, tell your great aunt, even tell your family friend who really is not technically your family but still goes to the family gatherings and tries to talk to you about sports, but he still thinks Tim Duncan is in the NBA still. And yeah, that guy, you can tell him too. And also, lastly, don't forget to check out our Instagram page at Townie_sports and our TikTok page at Townie Sports Pod. We'll give you all your mini clips, little highlights of the show. We're going to have some highlights featuring our two homies here. But with that being said, thank you to the Fairweather Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy, alongside the great Vic, and we are Townie Sports. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, swag so mean, swagger on 100. We keep it real, dog. Nah, we ain't never fronted. You know my whole cap G-clan stay blunted. My toes stay bruised, cause I'm running to the money. Swag so mean, swagger on 100. We keep it real, dog. Nah, we ain't never fronted. You know my whole cap G-clan stay blunted. My toes stay